Hi, good morning. Um, I'm Michael Jardim. I am the CEO of Engineers Without Borders Brazil. Nice to meet you. So let's see some Brazilian cliches. Native people, um, the awesome food. It's really awesome, really. Capoeira is a sport, the Brazilian sport. There's the carnival. I didn't put it there because there's so many naked people, maybe. And football, soccer. Not too much, really, after this World Cup. You can see why. But of course, Brazil is much more than it. Some data. So Brazil is the 7th world economy, and just after England, and the 5th in world population, with more than 200 million people. And if you do the math, you're going to see that our per capita income is really low. It's $11,000 a year. It's not as low as other countries. There are countries who live with $500 a year. You can imagine how is that. It's the average income. Well, and there are rich people, so 6.5 million people live with less than $1 a day, what means misery, as we call in Brazil, or 15.7 million people live with less than $2 a day, US dollar. So more or less 10% of Brazilian is on poverty. Some more stuff. The most known city in Brazil is Rio de Janeiro. Even you see it's poverty, but there's a big city with building. Some people don't know that. And it's really beautiful there. But you can see, if you look the other side, you will see a really poor community, what we call favelas. São Paulo is the biggest city, is our New York, and is the most visited city in Brazil, the biggest one. 20 million people live there. But the capital is Brasilia, where I'm from. This is our National Congress. Okay, so let's see. About social culture in Brazil. Time, how many time people volunteer? 18 million people, 9% of the population volunteered in Brazil last year. In the US, it's 35%.
In your presentation, you mentioned that only 9% of Brazilians volunteer yearly, compared to 35% in the United States. What do you think is the reason for this disparity in the percentage of volunteers, and what do you think can be done to increase the number of voluntary activities in Brazil?
Okay. People will be able to volunteer if there are serious organization to manage the volunteers. So before I started at the Engineers Without Borders, I tried to volunteer, and none organization could accept me because they couldn't manage all the volunteers. So the first thing is you have to have good organization with results, with focus, and serious with transparency. And the Engineers Without Borders Brazil is one of those. So we have more than 300 volunteers that wouldn't be volunteering if we didn't exist. So we are changing the sector. Money, we are the 68th in donation. So it's kind of hard to raise money and to get volunteers there. Because of that, the name of the presentation is changing social sector in Brazil. We had to change that so we can work, so we can. Maybe our first goal is change the social sector. And so professionally, 17 0.2% of the organization hire professionals. So the rest only work with volunteers like ours. And because of that, because of this social culture, we have a little support for universities and for enterprise. It's really hard to find our organization to sponsor, for example. Not just for us, for all our NGOs there. And our story. History. We started at Viçosa, Minas Gerais. Minas Gerais is a state in Brazil, a really big state, in 2010. And this beautiful university where I studied, industrial engineering. And so I became the president in 2012. Sorry, we call president, but you would call CEO. And then 1 month later, we found our second chapter at Lavras, another city, another really good university at Minas Gerais. And in these 2 years and a half, what have we accomplished? We are reaching 20 chapters. We have now 1 professional chapter, going to the second one. The professional is at Rio. Maybe we'll change our board for there, our national board. That would be great. We just had our first national conference to integrate all the members and change some experience as we're doing here.
In your presentation, you mentioned that you just ran EWB-Brazil's first national conference. Tell me a little bit more about this conference and tell me a little bit more about what were some of the key outcomes from the conference.
The conference was really awesome. We were expecting 60 people. We got almost 100, and from 6 or 7 different states. People traveled more than 1,000 kilometers to be there. So that's really amazing how much experience we could change and how they got enthusiastic about the idea. And how they could back home with new network, with new experience from the other chapters, from the other projects. And how they could get this experience and really apply that in their chapter. We're now trying to improve our fundraising capabilities because when I became the CEO, we didn't have projects, we didn't have chapters, we were not doing anything. So how can I approach a corporation and ask for money, or even approach people and ask for money if you don't have projects, if you're not changing people's life? So we had to change people's life and do something without any money at all, really, at all. We didn't have money and we have some accounts to pay. So we were on the red and I spent my own money to put the website on the air again, put the website live again. And then we did something, organize some cars, some events, sell some shirts, and do something like that, and to raise like $1,000 just to keep the organization going. But really, we don't spend a lot of money. We have a free office at the university. We have free labor from the volunteers. We have to pay our accountability and our website. That's the operational cost. We have some expansion costs. We should have. Now we are launching our online course to help people, most especially the people from the chapters, to qualify themselves so they can be more efficient and do more. And now we just approved our new statute to create the corporate governance, to create a board, a consulting board, a board of advisor, an administrative board that will elect the next CEO and decide his wage. Fortunately, the next CEO will work full-time and spend much more energy and time at in the organization that I can spend. So here is here's our chapters. There's one new that I put yesterday at the Rio de Janeiro, the professional chapter there. It is 18 now, but there is more that are starting. So solar heater. Soda and there's a typo there. Soda and milk bottle. I think your milk bottle is different here. In Brazil, it's done with aluminum. So we open it. So you use that would go to the trash and try to develop a product with it to have poor rural families. And that's it. So we just set up with the water box, and that's the product. That are the volunteers, and there are people who live in the house. And that green guy who started working in a project now is the vice president of the organization. This is the product.
One of the novel ideas that you mentioned in your presentation was this idea of using the aluminum cans that are used to store soda and milk to create solar water heaters in Brazil, which is, number one, an appropriate example because this event is sponsored by Alcoa, which is an aluminum company. Yeah. But tell me a little bit more about how the idea to use those cans to create a solar water heater came about. Was that an Engineers Without Borders idea, or is that an idea that you borrowed from a different source and just implemented on a larger scale?
That project and that product is really amazing. It's a solar heater that we can warm or heater water using material that would be wasted. And actually it was published by a professor, and what the chapter, Viçosa chapters, did. They did exactly what an engineer is supposed to do. They get an idea, a concept, and they applied it to improve people's life. So because of that, that's one of the most loved projects we have. Now we have to scale up. How to scale up? We developed this project, and it's really good for the families. But we just could set up in 2 houses, so it doesn't really change the world, And we are focused on results. So things to do it is social entrepreneurship. So in this practice, I was at the business side because business can change the world, and social organizations can help business to succeed. So social entrepreneurship is the way we are thinking about it. Expand to other cities, continuous improvement, and school and hospitals. Because the product works well and was helpful for the families. It's just repeat sorrow. But that's the idea. So we can qualify people who want to improve their income, to raise their income, and qualify and help them to create all the supply chain and find the customers and establish a right price so they can sell, install, maintain. This project, to me, this project is awesome because it's good for environmental, it's good for families who are helped, and may be good for the economy, generating wealth. This probably is the project I like most. It's called ProCap. It's an abbreviation. It's a free training program to qualify professional, actually to form professional electrician, plumber, and painter. They don't make a lot of money, but they make considerable more money than they would if they were not qualified. So the course or the training is happening 8 Saturdays, and we generated this year more than $45,000 a year in wealth with this training, because more or less, let's see more. This is the a theoretical class. Unfortunately, this class is a university class. Okay, this is the painting training, plumber training, see, and I have to thank the Alcoa for these two projects. They sponsored that, and that I want to ask you to help me thank Alcoa, this big corporation that has the social responsibility. If we had more corporation that concern with the humanity, probably the world would be a better place to live. So please give some applause to that. Thank you very much. Sure.
Hello. One question. Have you been in touch, or has anybody from EWB-Brazil been in touch with you?
No,
and,
not
and
really.
it's not your fault. I'm just asking in general.
Okay, no, not really.
All right. That would be great to, make that connection. Thanks.
Okay, maybe not. Maybe they're in some contacts with people who are in projects, because it's a little far. I'm the national board, and there's the chapter, and there's the project.
No, but we have a location in Minas Gerais.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of element there.
There's no excuse on our part. Thanks. Muito
Yeah,
obrigado.
thank you. So we qualified 61 people, and more or less they have an improvement of 20 to 25% of their income. So it generates the $40,000 wealth a year. And how to scale up? It doesn't matter, 61 people. Yeah, it's good, but how can we scale up? How can we really go big? We have to go to other cities with other chapters. So this project was developed in one city. Imagine what we could with 20. So now we're talking about changing the world. Charge the participants, because it's not always easy to get money from corporation, and a lot of participants or people who want to be trained go there and ask, "Oh, please, can I do it?" And you say, "Oh, I'm sorry, there's no more slots." And maybe if you're charging, you will give away and find more slots for them, so we can qualify more people and provide loans. Maybe, oh, okay, you want to participate, but you don't have money at all, as we're charging, and it is an investment. I can just get you a loan. There's no problem at all. So our goal is qualify 1,000 people in 2015, and I think it's really possible with these ideas. Let's see about some other chapters. Last chapter, it's a kindergarten. They build at schools. It's really good because it helps children nutrition and education with the traditional education, math, science, biology, Portuguese. And of course it helps at the environmental education too, production. And this is like a consulting project it's called Projeto Marolo project. And they qualify these producers to avoid waste and develop better products, so they can raise their income and cause less environmental impact. Vitória chapter is in other state of Espírito Santo. is a social environmental education for children. And this is a class to help people go to university. In Brazil, you don't have this long application. You just have to do one test. It's like your SAT. It's all that counts on that. So if we help people succeed on this exam, they can go to university. And this is their new project. It's a really big, it's a condom of popular homes, popular house. They're working this project together, other organization. Itabira, they raise some clothes for old people in home care, on homes, that live on homes. They have the same project that was created on Lavras and has been replicated. And this restore of wheelchair. In one day, they restored more than 60 chairs. No, come on. Yeah, I didn't put animation here, sorry. This is a project, an education problem behind, and a sport court. This is a project that's not done yet, but I think it's going to be succeed. I didn't show all the projects or all the chapters, but that's some examples of it. And I want to say thank you very much.
Any more questions before our next presentation?
Hello, Katie from Engineers Without Borders UK. Thank you very much for your presentation. I just had a quick question about your ProCap training program. I was just wondering, it's just a question of detail really, the courses that you deliver, are they accredited by another governing body, or is that something that you perform as Engineers Without Borders?
No, in Brazil there is no this kind of accreditation for technical. For technical course there is, but for electrician and no, just for for industries they will ask for something, but this kind of occupation doesn't need. Yeah, please.
I'm Tom from EWB New Zealand. I was just wondering, when you set up the organization in Brazil, what did you have any support from any of the other EWB organizations in the world? Like, for example, EWB New Zealand was super helped out by EWB Australia. So I was wondering, and then how did you find ALCO's support for the project?
Actually, it was a public document sent to the Engineers Without Borders all around the world, I guess, through the Engineers Without Borders International. That's the last question. What's the other? Oh, how is our interaction with the other EWB?
Like, how did you, where did you find support to start up? Like, did you just go out?
EWB USA have does a lot.
Oh, cool.
Actually, how we started, a guy from my university came to US, and at New York he was visiting the United Nations, and then Engineers Without Borders USA, I guess, was presenting there, and he thought the idea amazing. So when he came back, he just did. And then we kept the contact. We kept the contact with EWB USA, and they helped us a lot. But it's never easy. So you see, we spent 2 years just structured to have in one city, and then 2 years we are in more 20 cities. The turning point maybe.
We got one last question over here.
Thank you. My name is Welas Bahoranye from EWB Rwanda, near Africa. Thank you for your presentation. I appreciate so much because we have some projects similar as what you are doing. But I have two questions. Sure. First, what about infrastructure? I mean, bridges and roads. The second one is about the water supply in rural areas. You do not have the project about water supply in rural areas? Thank you.
Water supply. And the other is just water supply, you want to know, right? Actually, we developed a project with EWB USA from Maryland. A chapter went there, I think it was 3 years ago, before I was there. And they developed a project like this at a city called Cidade das Peças. It's like City of the Pieces. And they developed a project like this. That's not that hard, technically speaking. But the chapters are formed from students, so they're not that far, and they have class in the morning and they have to do something at the afternoon. So it would be really costly to go really far. And at the cities, we don't have this kind of problem. That would be really far and really costly. So we would lose a lot of money in transportation instead of in projects. Of course, yeah, it's someday, I hope.
Thank you, Mikhail. Thank you so much.
Thank you.